Welcome back to another episode of the Skinfluence Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dustin, board-certified dermatologist.
And I'm Austin Lee, physician assistant extraordinaire.
And if you caught our last episode, we want to remind you once more to go and leave a comment for your representatives or senators about the proposed rule changes to CMS to protect your health care. Today, we're going to have a little more fun, though, a little less serious of a topic. Yeah. And we're going to be doing a little mock debate, so to speak, about some common, what we would call myths in the field of dermatology and skincare, around a few things that seem to be popular online, but that in reality we're opposed to.
Yeah, and so when we're arguing for defense or for some of these things, these are for the sake of the debate. But at the end, we'll discuss what the science actually says and what we actually would recommend. To treat these conditions. So
let's get into the first one, and this is sunscreen causes cancer. It disrupts your endocrine system. It's bad for you. Yeah. Austin, do you want to be the crazy one on this one?
Yeah, I'll argue for sunscreen causes skin cancer. There's a few points that go out there and without the right context can seem like they are good arguments for this. So one of the first ones is the chemical filters. That they're absorbed into the bloodstream, and those chemical filters can cause cancer. Yeah. So like oxybenzone, things like that, then in the chemical sunscreens.
Yeah. So to the point, there was a 2019 study done by the FDA where they looked at sunscreen absorption and tested blood levels. And what they found is that when sunscreen was used appropriately in this study, meaning it was put on at the right concentration, it was reapplied frequently enough, they did find elevated levels of some of these chemicals in the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. So we're not debating that. The science does seem to show that. However, it's still a stretch to say that that's harmful. We don't actually have any data that having those chemicals in your bloodstream, even at the concentration seen in that study, were causing any harm or increasing cancer. We've had populations of people who have been very diligent about their sunscreen use, whether that's in Australia or even just looking at dermatologists in the United States who are generally very good with their sunscreen. They don't have wildly increased risk of cancer. We're not seeing dermatologists come down with lymphomas at higher rates than the general population.
Right.
We don't have a spike in lymph malignancies in Australia either. So we're not seeing systemic cancers. Now, there is an argument out there about skin cancer.
Yep. So another point that is very popular and is that with increasing rates of sunscreen use, we're also seeing increasing rates of skin cancers. So it has to be the sunscreen.
It has to be. That's what they say. Now, I will first off throw out the adage that you learn on day one of any statistics class, and that is correlation does not equal causation. Just because we see two things go up doesn't mean that they're related. And there's a fun website out there where you can look at different things that are correlated, and it's like the number of popsicles eaten and the number of shark attacks.
Yeah.
And the more popsicles that are eaten at different times in the year, we see more shark attacks. Well, more people are eating popsicles in the summer and more people are swimming in the ocean in the summer.
Yeah.
And obviously they're unrelated. Now,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. There was even one, it's like the number of professional clowns versus the number of breast cancer diagnoses or something, like clowns were causing breast cancer in some way. So let's look at this from the data. What we have seen is that, yes, sunscreen use has gone up and we've seen an elevated risk of skin cancer. What you need to know is that when sunscreen was first developed, it was primarily zinc-based sunscreens that were blocking UVB. There weren't a lot of great chemical sunscreens, and we weren't getting that broad spectrum coverage. And so people were not appropriately protected from UVA, which can cause skin cancer in and of itself. It can contribute to melanoma, basal cell carcinoma, and squamous cell carcinoma. And so we did see significant increased adoption of sunscreen use through the 70s and the 80s, but it wasn't the kind of sunscreen that we have today. And so people were still going out with a false sense of security that they were protected. And because skin cancer takes, an extra decade or two to develop after significant sun exposure, we're now seeing the consequences for people who were inadequately protected. We've also seen times where there's a lot of tanning bed use through the 80s, the 90s, and tanning beds have been linked to, as a causal relationship, a class 1 carcinogen for increasing the risk for skin cancer. And so we can't therefore say that everybody has been using sunscreen the appropriate way, the right kind of sunscreen, and we're seeing more skin cancer.
Yeah.
There's studies that have shown that certain skin cancers have UV signature mutations, meaning there's mutations that happen in the DNA that can only happen because of UV exposure. It's not because of sunscreen. It's not because of seed oils. It happens only under UV exposure. And so nowadays we have better sunscreens. We have a new sunscreen approved in the United States for the first time, BEMT, that provides even better UVA coverage. And what this will do is give better protection. You need to reapply. You need to apply it enough when you're going to go out or otherwise protect your skin. So I feel confident in saying sunscreen does not cause skin cancer.
Okay, fine. I have one final argument.
All right.
In animal studies, it has been shown that sunscreen causes endocrine dysfunction.
Yeah, they love this one on the internet. So they took sunscreen ingredients and they orally fed it to mice or rats at concentrations far in excess that you could ever achieve in your bloodstream. Even if you applied sunscreen over your entire body, you would have to apply sunscreen from head to toe every day for 37 years to get that much exposure. And it still wouldn't be the same because you're not eating it all at once. You're getting it gradually over time. And they did have some endocrine disruption in the animal models.
Yeah.
However, when we look at human physiology, which, like it or not, is different than mice physiology, we have estrogen, testosterone, and the sunscreen ingredients, although if they get a high enough concentration can bind to the estrogen receptor, they have a lot lower affinity for binding to the estrogen receptor than estrogen itself.
Yeah.
And so estrogen is always going to displace it. It's not like we're activating estrogen receptors to a great degree because you wear sunscreen. There's actually no evidence of human endocrine disruption when you use sunscreen appropriately. And most of us use it inappropriately. We're not using it enough or frequently enough.
Yeah.
So once again, sunscreen does not disrupt your endocrine system. So as part of finishing up our sunscreen conversation, one of our product of the week here is the Dean Skincare Sheer Shield SPF. This is a great daily sunscreen. I love to put it on every day before work, when I'm running errands. I'll even wear it if I'm going to be exercising because it lasts pretty well. But if I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to grab like something even higher than 50 and water resistant, but great daily sunscreen, very similar to an Elta MD UV Clear. You actually get more in the bottle for a lower cost, and you can find it on shop.drdustinportela.com.
This is one that I actually use on my kids. They're very sensitive. One of them has very sensitive skin, and sunscreens burn her all the time, but this is one that doesn't. So,
awesome.
There you go.
So let's turn the tables a little bit, and I'm going to go on the offensive here against Austin. And the position that I'm going to advocate here is that beef tallow is the best moisturizer and the one that everybody should be using.
Okay, let's hear your arguments for beef tallow then.
We have all these modern chemicals that our ancestors never had. And what they used was beef tallow. They would put that on their skin if they needed something. It's more healthy. It has fatty acids. It complements your skin. And this is a superior moisturizer to anything that you can get on the drugstore shelf.
Well, the argument for the ancestral use, our ancestors used it. Ancestral doesn't always mean optimized.
Right.
And so I often tell my patients, and I have a lot of friends who use beef tallow, is that humans back in the day also didn't have antibiotics. They also didn't have modern things that we use nowadays. And so they were using the best of what they had. So living in 2026, why not use the best of what we have? And so beef tallow, although it is a very occlusive emollient, just because there's fatty acids in it does not mean that those fatty acids are actually even being absorbed through our skin barrier. And so the argument is it has the K, A, D, and E, those 4 vitamins in it, but they're large molecules that aren't readily absorbed through the skin barrier, which is why we typically need them dietarily. We need to eat those vitamins. So that is, so ancestral is not optimized, and the absorption of the fatty acids is also not optimized.
So are you telling me that the vitamin A that might be in the animal fat is not going to work the same as a retinol on my skin?
It's not going to work the same as a retinol on your skin. I actually haven't even heard that argument that people are using it as a retinol because of vitamin A.
Yeah, that it's better for anti-aging, it's a better moisturizer.
Well, there is the argument to be made that putting a moisturizer on your skin, it provides a good environment for your skin to flourish and function as opposed to a dry environment. But we have better molecules. So number one, if you're putting tallow on your skin, especially the face, it is going to occlude the pores. It has about the same, it'll plug your pores about the same as coconut oil can, which is very thick. And if you're prone to things like acne or rosacea, it's probably going to flare it up a little bit. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the preservative argument, because I don't know how I can make this from my standpoint, but I think it's important to talk about preservatives.
Yeah, so beef tallow is a fat.
Yeah.
That fat has a shelf life. And so if you're making it at home and if you've had the ingredients to make it for a while, that could go rancid pretty quickly. Preservatives in our modern day medications, they're just that. They're preservatives. They're not absorbed through our skin. We don't get high absorption rates of them. They're not damaging to our skin, and they will allow the moisturizers we use to not go rancid and go bad.
Yeah. So I mean, beef tallow in and of itself can have an odor to it, but once it goes rancid, if you've ever opened a bottle of olive oil or something that's been in your pantry for way too long, like that smell. And it's awful.
It's not fun. And if you're putting it on your face, you're going to offend a little bit.
You're not going to have any friends. Sometimes people are putting in essential oils in their beef tallow to kind of mask that smell of the animal fat.
Yeah.
And this is just a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for disaster. Also, natural does not mean sterile.
Right.
And so raw animal fat also carries you can get microbes in it that contaminate it that you're now putting on your face. So there's risk without the proper type of processing and preservation that companies, to get their products on the shelves at the store, have to go through rigorous testing. They have to go through rigorous processes to make sure that we're not putting things on our skin that are going to contaminate or risk for infection, things like that.
Yeah. When we have tons of essential oils in these, I've seen a lot of people get contact dermatitis. It's quite common for people to get allergic to essential oils, especially if they're not diluted properly in these products.
If they're homemade. Very much like beef tallow is often homemade.
Yeah. The other argument that I did a video on YouTube on beef tallow. And so to do that video, I went to the local health food store. I looked at their shelves. They had many different beef tallow brands. And I ended up picking up a small jar of beef tallow. I mean, it was quite small, like 1 ounce of beef tallow.
Okay.
Had essential oils in it.
Yep.
And it cost me about $23.
Oh, really?
So I have found, and I've looked online, a lot of these beef tallows, they're made in small batches by people who are running small businesses, which I can respect, but they have to charge a lot of money for them. And when you actually put it on your skin, it's pretty much just acting like an occlusive. It doesn't bring in moisturizing properties that ceramides might or that glycerin might, that we have in many of our other over-the-counter moisturizers. So you're just putting on something that's occlusive, and then it smells bad. And if you want something that's just occlusive, you might as well buy a $3 jar of Vaseline that's 4 times as big.
Yep.
So I did a bad job arguing in favor of beef tallow.
I love this is the best argument for it or against it, because we're both going at it. But another thing is our modern day moisturizers, they have humectants in it, which help draw water into the skin. They're very moisturizing. They actually control some of the pH that happens with their skin as opposed to beef tallow. So there's a lot of good things that these modern products that we have available to us will do. And I don't know, I just don't like thick things on my skin. At the end of the day, I don't want to put this big, thick thing like on my face.
Right.
I'll put thicker moisturizers on my arms and legs, like after the shower, but not my face.
And if you're an advocate for cruelty-free skincare, beef tallow is not it.
Oh, yeah, that's another good argument against it.
Definitely not cruelty-free.
Yeah, yeah. There's some cruelty going on in that.
So, all right. So I think we've debunked sunscreen, and now we've debunked beef tallow. So what is a better alternative?
A better alternative is the Dean Active Repair Moisturizer. This is my all-time favorite moisturizer. We've talked about this before in previous podcasts. Are you going to go bougie on moisturizer? And I do, because this is my favorite one. It is so smooth. My skin is so happy. It feels light, but it's very moisturized. My skin feels plump and doughy when I use this. And this is great for barrier repair. So if you suffer with dry skin, if you have sensitive skin, this is a great product. It's also at shop.drdustinportela.com, and you can find it there. It's the best alternative to beef tallow.
I agree with you. So before we get into our third and final controversy of the day, let's do a little Did You Know? All right, Austin, so I came across a story on the interwebs this week that was wild to me.
Okay.
So this comes from Colorado. There was an ER nurse who was hiking with friends, and they were going up one of probably the 14,000-foot summits there. And what happened is they got near the top. He slipped and fell, and he was using hiking poles. And by some freak accident, the hiking pole impaled him. It went under his arm and through his latissimus muscle, sticking out both sides.
I saw a photo of this, and it looks bad.
It looks awful. And I'm surprised there's not more blood in this photo. And for those watching on video, we'll have to put this up. So they knew right away, like, this needs medical attention. And if you get impaled by something, you do not want to remove it on site. You want to have it removed in the operating room, because if it's holding an artery,
closed,
you open that up, you could bleed out so quickly. And so he knew that because he works in the ER.
Oh my gosh.
The ideal thing to do would be you would call for medevac. You'd get a helicopter up there. But he knew that a helicopter could cost between $25,000 and $100,000. And luckily he kept a calm head, and he realized it didn't puncture a lung. His vitals were stable. It was painful, but he decided to hike down the mountain with his friends until he could get an ambulance.
What a boss.
And it took 6 hours. And his friends were going ahead of him on the trail to warn families that were hiking up with kids, like, hey, something gruesome's coming through. You might want to, like, have your kids turn around.
Oh my gosh.
And as they got closer to the end, they started making jokes. You know, they knew they were going to make it and he was going to be okay, making jokes about kebabs and all sorts of things. And so
that's wild.
He walked all the way to the trailhead, got to the hospital, and had the pole removed, and he's recovering at home. But that is the American medical system. You can get impaled and choose instead to walk for 6 hours with a pole sticking out the front and the back of you.
That's a risky thing, because you increase blood flow.
Yeah.
You risk bleeding out or bleeding out and around it. So, wow, that is a crazy story.
Yeah. I would have called for the helicopter.
I would have been helivac'd out of there so fast.
So one of the things that I do is I like to go camping, and I have one of those Garmin InReach devices that I can text even without cell service. I can check in with my family, let them know, like, I'm fine. Bears haven't eaten me.
Yeah.
But, and I pay a little bit for the text messages. It's like $15 a month for 20 text messages if I need it. But then I also, through Garmin, purchased evacuation insurance. And it's not terribly expensive. It's like maybe $70 a year, so that if I had to activate search and rescue on my Garmin device or something like that, there's a really pretty cheap insurance plan to cover like up to $250,000 of search and rescue or something.
And it adds up quickly.
Yeah.
Dang. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are hikers or backpackers, the Garmin, it's InReach.
InReach, yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
and you get the plan, and then you can purchase the optional search and rescue insurance. So I just did it for my whole family.
Yeah, that's probably
And
smart.
that way, like if I have one of my boys with me or the whole family's out there and somebody breaks a leg on a hike, like helicopter can come and get us.
That's awesome.
So not very expensive, surprisingly.
Yeah, for something that is, you have a high likelihood of happening if the more you do it,
Yeah.
you may need it. So, that's cool.
Yeah. What do you got for me?
So I have an interesting fact about our skin.
Okay.
So our skin expresses the same type of olfactory or smelling receptors that our nose has.
Really?
So there are some studies that have shown that when our skin is exposed to certain triggers, and the one that the study used was sandalwood. It naturally triggers wound healing and cell proliferation. We don't know why our certain cells and parts of our skin evolved into expressing these receptors. But when exposed to, they didn't touch the skin, they just exposed the smell or around the skin,
Yeah.
and then it triggered healing responses.
Interesting.
So obviously more needs to be studied about it. It's a small study, but your skin can smell.
I feel like sandalwood is one of those common fragrances in spas, like when you're getting massages and
So
stuff.
very relaxed. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that's
Maybe.
a popular one.
Yeah.
Our skin is like,
Yeah.
nice.
I just got some soap sent to. I don't use bar soap very often,
yeah.
but Cyclar Skincare sent me 3 boxes of soap on a rope for the shower.
Oh.
And it's like high-end skincare, but like you wouldn't think bar soap on a rope would be. And it smells amazing. There's a sandalwood one that I've been using, and it like just smells so good.
Yeah, it's a great smell.
So
Your skin likes it.
yeah, for more reasons than I knew. All right, let's get into our third controversy of the day.
Okay. I will be the arguer
Okay.
again because I like arguing for these things, apparently.
So what are we arguing?
So we're going to argue that lemon juice clears your acne.
Okay.
So my argument for it is lemon juice is high in vitamin C and natural acid content like citric acid. And acids are legitimately used in healthcare like AHAs for exfoliation and brightening.
Okay. Well, let's take this on. So lemon juice has a very low pH. It's very acidic.
Very acidic.
And so that in and of itself can be quite irritating to the skin. There is some citric acid in there, which could have some minor exfoliating properties. It could dry out some things. And without a doubt, there's people who have used this and seen improvement in their acne and their complexion. So there are legitimate properties to benefit from using lemon juice. But I think that there's some potential significant downsides. One of those being you may not always have the same concentration of lemon juice. If you're getting it from a store shelf in a bottle, it should theoretically be the same from batch to batch. But if you're making your own, some lemons are more tart than others.
Yeah.
You're going to have different experiences. And if you're used to a more mild preparation and then you get a batch that you make that's stronger, you could have compromised skin barrier. And probably the biggest risk is that this is the type of thing you need to make sure that you rinse off properly if you're going to use it. And I know that there's people who put it on and leave it on and then might go outside. And if you have citrus on your skin, limes I think are the worst culprit, but lemons have the potential to do it too. And interestingly, celery and figs.
Yes.
If you get these chemicals on your skin and then you get exposed to sun, it can cause a phototoxic reaction. And so it's not necessarily that bad to just be in the sun or to just have that on your skin. But when they're combined, you get a reaction called phytophotodermatitis. And this is a phototoxic reaction that kills some of your skin cells. It creates significant inflammation. It's very painful. It can be very itchy. And most prominently, it leads to significant inflammation and post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
So I've seen people with phytophotodermatitis from limes on a cruise or on a beach, and they have dark purple marks on their skin in these weird patterns from the juices falling on them that can last for months.
Yeah. I recently had a patient who she had recently come back. Her complaint was, I've had these dark marks on my skin since I was in Cancun.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew what was going on. And it was that. So, okay. So it can leave dark spots.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Chemical burns, disrupted skin barrier. And again, there could be some legitimate benefits to using lemon juice. However, we have much better alternatives.
Yeah.
We have things that are safer on your skin barrier, that are consistent from batch to batch, and that don't put you at risk of phytophotodermatitis. The one that I recommend to my patients, again from Dean Skincare, is the Rapid Reveal Exfoliation Pads. And this is a 15% glycolic acid pad. We have a lot of our patients who are looking to rejuvenate their skin. They want to do mild chemical peels at home. And this is what we recommend that they use. It will dry up some acne bumps if that's what you're prone to. It will exfoliate the skin. It's not going to be so harsh that it breaks down your skin barrier. And it's not going to put you at risk of phytophotodermatitis. So once again, in the link in the podcast show notes, we'll have these 3 products on the e-commerce store. And for new buyers, you'll sign up. There's a discount. You get at least 15% off your first purchase. And these are the same things that we recommend to our patients when we have these conversations in the office.
Yes, I recommend these products all day. And I can report that my patients are very happy with the results that they get with these, as opposed to some of the mixed reports we get from people who use beef tallow, lemon juice on their skin, and also who don't use sunscreen.
Yeah. So I think we can put these 3 myths to rest, but that doesn't mean they're going to stop showing up on the internet.
Yep.
We'll keep combating them in our reels and our TikToks and YouTube videos. And we have fun doing it, but we want you to have the best skin possible. Choose products that are in your price range, that are in your budget, that do good for your skin, and that are consistent from batch to batch.
Yep. We will only recommend things that usually we have tested, that we know work, and we're not going to lead you astray when it comes to quality and good healthcare on this podcast.
Yeah. So we appreciate you joining us for this conversation. Stick around for part 2 coming next week, where we're going to tackle a few more myths just like these. If you guys come across any fun stories you want us to cover on the Did You Know, send them to us on Instagram at skinfluence_pod. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you to all the new people. We've been having way more downloads recently. So thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next week.